For centuries, the Book of Genesis was read as a literal historical timeline, a police report documenting a primordial crime in a localized geographical garden. This traditional framework suggests humanity inherited an infinite spiritual debt and a corrupted nature from a single ancient dietary infraction. Every child enters the world legally guilty of a debt accrued millennia ago. Taking this text as literal science alienates post-Enlightenment thinkers who prioritize rational consistency and individual moral accountability over inherited metaphysical guilt. When Genesis is constrained by the requirements of material historiography, its moral utility collapses. Its insights into human nature are lost beneath the weight of outdated material origins. Reclaiming the text requires a shift to the 6th century BCE. The Davidic monarchy had collapsed, and the Israelite population lived as displaced captives in the heart of Imperial Babylon. Their captors operated on the Enuma Elish, a mythology where creation emerges from cosmic slaughter, and humans are created as slave labor to relieve the gods of manual toil. Displaced Jewish redactors countered this imperial narrative by weaving tribal myths and legal codes into a cohesive exilic charter, a cultural survival mechanism designed to resist imperial erasure. This charter functions as an archetypal mirror, engineered to protect human dignity and covenant identity under the constant pressure of imperial subjugation. Linguistic analysis confirms this archetypal intent. The word Adam is a collective noun derived from Adama, meaning ground or soil. Literally, the text describes a dust child or earthling. Eden functions as an archetypal mirror, providing a precise psychological inventory of moral failure as it occurs across all space and time. Grasping the fruit represents the human impulse to define moral truth independently of reality. The resulting nakedness reflects the terrifying vulnerability and shame that accompanies moral self-awareness. The subsequent blame-shifting cascade, where the humans blame one another and then the serpent, serves as a diagnosis of the human refusal to own personal agency. This narrative invites readers to recognize their own capacity for self-deception. It shifts the focus from an ancestor's ancient crime to an individual's present diagnostic reality. The flood narrative similarly moves beyond Sunday school literalism to examine the structural limits of retributive justice. Before the deluge, the text observes every inclination of the human heart was only evil. After starting fresh with a righteous remnant, the evaluation remains identical. The deluge altered physical geography, but left internal human psychology completely unchanged. The rainbow, or Keshet, signifies a permanent abdication of cosmic violence. By pointing his battle bow away from the earth and toward the heavens, God signifies that destruction cannot cultivate virtue. This redefines atonement, or Kippur, as a symbolic technology for relational realignment and communal purification. It emphasizes the need to clean the communal space rather than paying off a legalistic fine. For both the exilic and modern reader, the narrative proves mass punishment is a moral dead end. True resolution requires long-term covenantal engagement and behavioral reform. If Genesis is a psychological mirror, secular humanists argue that human self-correction and horizontal restitution are sufficient. If you wrong a neighbor, the debt is owed to that neighbor, not to a deity. From this perspective, religious rituals risk becoming spiritual bypassing, ego defense mechanisms used to avoid the painful work of remorse and direct repair with those we have hurt. Theology itself recognizes this danger. Dietrich Bonhoeffer famously warned against cheap grace, the practice of preaching forgiveness without requiring a change in conduct or the restoration of what was broken. When used as a psychological narcotic, atonement satisfies the ego's desire to feel righteous while leaving corrupt behavioral patterns completely untouched. Yet, pure secular logic often fails to account for the paralyzing epistemic trap of toxic shame. If we believe we must be perfect to possess worth, we drive our failures underground to protect our egos. Breaking deep-seated self-deception often requires an external anchor of radical acceptance. This provides the psychological safety necessary to look directly at our own shadow without collapsing into despair. Moral psychologists compare the human mind to a rational rider perched atop a powerful emotional elephant. While logic addresses the writer, it is stories and mythic archetypes that train the elephant's intuition. This reliance on narrative allows for the creation of intersubjective fictions. Concepts like universal human rights are not biological facts found in DNA, but shared secular mythologies that enable billions of strangers to cooperate through a common moral imagination. A mature society must discard ancient texts as coercive laws used to enforce archaic taboos or historical news reports. Simultaneously, we must retain these narratives as diagnostic engines. Abstract logic rarely inspires heroic sacrifice or moral imagination. It is the shared story that provides the vocabulary for examining our collective hubris. The Genesis Charter sets a mirror before our faces. It reflects our shared dust-child identity, demanding we acknowledge our capacity for self-deception and engage in the continuous work of restoring a fragmented world.